Right.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the second episode of season 5 of The Experience. And you may recognize this handsome fellow, Steve Nobel. Woohoo! In the house. Whoop, whoop. Play music in the background. If I knew how to edit it in, it would be there. But we'll just make make it up as you go, people. Yeah. Oots. I would have my kid who's like my 12-year-old's trying to beatbox. Welcome, my friend. It is Thanks, my heart just overfilled with joy whenever I see you, and I love your stripes, and it's awesome. And Soul Matrix is the coolest logo really out there. So and to my viewers, if you haven't seen Steve Nobel on my show, you have to watch all of them. They're so awesome. He's been along for the ride for many episodes, and he's in England, and so he's across the pond. So we're time traveling as we speak. He's in the future. I'm in the past.
I'm in the future. I'm in the
You're
afternoon.
in the future. Yeah. So how's the day going?
It's blue sky. It's been a really nice few days. I'm right by the sea. It's blue sky, sunny. You know, the sun's really bright. It feels like, or even just this year feels like, when I entered the year, I felt, oh, thank God, 2022. Last year was a real shit show, if I can say.
Yeah, please say shit show. The more colorful language, the better.
Good.
Yeah. Oh, please. I think it's a really worthwhile conversation to talk about perceptions of time and what's going on and what the year was like for people. And I've heard all kinds of things from astrologers about the year to come, but tell me about whatever you want to share. Like, it's blue skies. Thank goodness for 22. What else is coming up?
Well, I felt immediately lighter, as I said, which was a good sign. I had no idea particularly what the year was going to be in store, but I thought this is a good sign, feeling so light. And last year, I like many starseeds and people on the planet, I had my heaviness around how can we. It's almost like walking to the edge of a precipice. How can we just keep going to the edge of this? More and more. Rules, regulations, mandates. I mean, in America, you've had the current regime pushing out their stuff, and I think it's been blocked. Or I don't know exactly what's happened, but I heard Supreme Court were kind of slowing it down or blocking it. In England, I went on a march last year with 1 million people in London, and I didn't know it was 1 million people until I saw the drone. I thought I was at the tail end. I thought maybe it's about 20,000, a lot of people, but it was 1 million people. It looked
wow.
And I think the message to the government was loud and clear. 1 million people walking through the capital, the police just stood back and were like, just rethink what you're trying to do. And personally, since this whole thing started, I mean, really for a while now, since the millennium, dark forces have been doing their thing, doing their dance. Yeah, hey, let's do something with the planet. Hey, let's have some more control. Let's make a few more billion. Let's get more control over the banking systems and or whatever they're doing. I don't know what they're doing.
Right. The trajectory that they're on is that trajectory. It's like if you have this, then you've got to go for that, and it just keeps on.
Keeps going. Like, more control.
Yeah.
Or what is it? Well, the one thing I think about the dark, and I heard a lot of people say it, is that they have to kind of declare what they're up to. If they declare what they're up to, then they can do it. Mm-hmm. And so you see a lot of scripted shows on Hollywood. Is it like things coming out, The Simpsons and South Park? Definitely The Simpsons, and some other shows. And the things you've got, is it the Georgia Stones you've got over there with the Illuminati going? Yeah.
Going, that's supposed to be what's his name from CNN? The Ted Turner.
Was it him?
That's the theory. I mean,
yeah. Well,
it's a theoretical.
One person. I think it would be part of it. They're not one individuals. They're like
no, of course not. No. Well, and I mean, if a man would have resources, a Ted Turner would have the resources, right?
I guess, yeah. But the thing about it sounds all very nice, you know, make the world a fairer place, you know, get rid of diseases, social justice, and reduce the population to 500 million. It's like, oh, it all sounded really nice until you get to that bit, you know, like that means, what is it, one in 17 or something will survive, whatever that is.
Yeah, that
and
magical
kind of
number.
rolling it out, and you know, that film that came out recently, Don't Look Up, which I thought was pretty good.
I haven't seen it. I heard it was kind of heavy. I've heard people really like it though.
I liked
I've
it,
just been watching Queer Eye to keep my spirits up.
Well, it's fun, but it's kind of fun, like end of the world fun, you know, it's kind of that kind of fun. So you know, I think most light workers cannot conceive of the mindset of this group of people. I mean, I'm not saying I can conceive of it, but I think I've got a bit more of a finger on it than many light workers, because I think the difficulty with Starseed's light workers is that once they kind of shake off the heaviness, negativity of the world, they want to embrace the angels, they want to embrace the rainbow dolphins, they want to go there, and they don't want to see too much dark stuff because it's too heavy. But at a certain point in the journey, I think we've got to turn and face the dark, because they're there and they're doing what they're doing, and that's part of the awakening process. And you know, it's not to be depressed by. I mean, I know that some people go, I can't look there because it's too depressing, but I have looked there, and I think they've been doing their agenda for quite a while now. 9/11 was the first step, and then other steps have been. Syria was another powerful step. You know, I think if Clinton had got in, she'd have made that a shit show, really. Because she was what she was saying she was going to do was basically come head to head with the Russians. And do you really? Oh my
gosh, no. God. Well, and also the whole, I mean, I'm sure I know a lot of people who are light workers who are really, really like ensconced in this, the COVID polarity reality, which is so interesting. And my husband he had to go through the mandate with his where he works, because he works for a university. And they were like, oh, you have to get, first they were like, you have to get tested. And he's really anti-vaccine. I, at one point, was like, oh, like I was super anti. And then my guidance was like, it's okay for you to have it. So I had it. That's another story. I had some stuff go down. But he's like, no. And he works completely remotely. And long story short, I was like, do what you got to do. If you need to get fired, get fired. Like we'll manage it. And he held to his guns, and he asked for a exemption. They first rejected it, and then he basically, from his heart, is like, because it was a religious exemption, and first they're like, well, you don't sound like this religion, you don't sound like that religion. And he's like, my God and my source talk every day, and tells me that this is that whenever I tune and ask, it's a resounding no for me. And they accepted it. They said okay. They gave him an exemption. I could also feel in the matrix that it was collapsing, because it was like, this is totally unconstitutional. Like, this isn't, you can't force people to take this, especially with the narrative out there. If people want to look at it, you know, like, where did this come from? This is a created experience, and I'm not really interested in going along for that ride, in terms of like the whole like you know, like running down the streets in hysteria.
No, but it's good to be aware of what's going on. I do think it is contrived and orchestrated.
I agree.
And it's orchestrated for for people to take this, but this is not the end of the road, because this is part of something else. And the whole thing is, and I've seen spiritual teachers go on Facebook and go, yay, I've just got it, and look at me, we can do it, yay. And one of them is a successful author that's written books on how your mind heals your body, and people were like, well, what do you mean? Your mind heals your
Where's
body,
the distortion here? I just saw someone who is an amazing healer criticize people who aren't getting vaccinated as mentally ill, like schizophrenics.
Well, actually, I've got a T-shirt that says, "This is not a pandemic; it's an IQ test." And you know, I will wear it. I'm probably going to wear. I've just got it. I'm going to wear it tomorrow. I'm going to go and see my family, and I'm going to wear. I've got another one which says, "What does the other one say? The media is the virus." You know, and
Oh yeah,
these are things I absolutely believe. That
I agree.
people are mass hypnosis. And
Mm-hmm.
there's I think when you've got a section of people who are hypnotized, they will then try and hypnotize other people. So it's got a kind of knock-on effect, really. And I see people wearing the masks and doing their thing, and so basically all my family have been, had the whatever, and they've all got tests up the wherever, and my partner's family, all of them have come down with it. We've had events cancelled. They've, off school, off work. We had a big Christmas event. One we went through and another was cancelled. My partner's brother, who's been triple whatever, he's isolating. Her father got the second one, went in hospital. And so what I basically, on FaceTime calls with my family, I just say, look, we are the rebellious unjabbed. We are not wearing the what, and we're not testing the what. And you know what? We're really healthy. You lot are all sick.
Yeah.
And at the beginning, you can see the confusion on their face, but the longer it's gone on and the more sickness has gone on, my son actually said to me on my last conversation, he said, it is a little bit confusing. He works for the NHS and he was totally gone with it. Like, I've got to do this. And he called me a conspiracy theorist at the beginning. But then the last conversation I had with him, he said, yeah, it's confusing. I don't really totally get it. And so confusion for me is a good state because it means something is shifting in someone.
Oh, it's so shifting. It's so shifting. It's from an anthropological view. I think what I felt happening at a certain point, the rigidity, the locking down, I felt really like it was important to keep my center, like whatever my guidance was, to just keep my center and observe what's happening. Like, because the histrionic energy of people just like, as my ear thing falls out, like, freaking out. And it's like, wow, okay. I mean, as a practitioner too, as a wellness practitioner, it's like, okay, fear of death is a big one. Still, people were afraid to go through our natural cycles, and our souls know exactly what's going on. But two, this intensity of, I think, and it supports the fact that we really are evolving into the light, is the structures that are in place. And there is an implementation. You can sort of see it here in the States where they're like, okay, you can't do this, the mandate's this, and there's no legal precedent whatsoever. And then finally people are like, wait a second, there's no legal precedent. And then they go to court and the courts are like, you're right, there's no legal precedent. And then they instantly have a response in the legal canon, like, oh, here we go, here's this answer to that. And so they've thought about it, but there's no I just feel like the structure is falling. The structure to support that contrived mindset is falling away, because what is fear? Like, when you have a prolonged period of fear, what happens is people start to go, and like sickness and isolation, people start to go, what are my priorities? Like, what matters? Does this matter? Does it matter? Like, it's relationships, it's love, it's connection, it's all of those higher vibratory things. And I'm starting to see like just better eye connection, eye contact. The kids are having an easier time being off electronics and wanting to connect with us. And it's interesting. It's just it's a long range time frame, though. It's not going to happen tomorrow. It's just little baby steps in directions that I feel are very hopeful.
Yeah. Well, the awakening process, in anyone's awakening process, they have to face the fear of what the ego most fears, whether it's money, scarcity, homelessness, death, failure, abandonment, whatever it is, or betrayal. And, I've been through my journey. I've faced some of my worst fears and I've gone through it. Now, my partner, we've been together for 2 years. And I did say to her when we got together, when you come together with me, you know, probably something's going to happen with your journey. And she went, oh yeah, that's fine. That's fine. And then she wanted to learn what I'm doing. So she's been through a training for a year, about a year. And I said, well, what you're going to do is, what you're going to get is these lessons will come experientially. It won't be just, well, here's what Steve says and you go read it in the book. It's actually, you're going to get it. And she went, yeah, that's fine. And then
and then it comes.
Yeah, then it came. And then she was like, oh my God, you know, when's it going to stop? And I'm like, it's just going to keep going until you move through it. And there's a learning thing, and it will keep coming until you get it, you know. And she's just hit another one, and she's like, oh. And I'm like, yeah. It's okay, it's all right, you know.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it, because we are going to face our worst fears. And for the collective, you're right. Death is probably one of the worst fears, and COVID has brought it up, hasn't it? You know, people are worried, and people are going. But I do think, you know, leaving the planet, and there's a number of reasons for it, you know, because people say, yeah, but people are leaving the planet. I think one of the reasons is, I think there's a channel called Seth that said all death is suicide anyway. We choose our death anyway.
Absolutely.
Maybe not consciously.
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah. Yeah.
And there are a lot of people on the planet going, you know what? I don't really like where it's going. I don't like this ascension. I don't like all this light, dark stuff. And they're deciding to leave the planet. My mother left. She went into hospital on 9/11 and she left the end of that week.
Wow.
And so every day, you know, when we took her to the hospital, there was the plane slamming into the building. We're like, and when I was on the phone to the doctor to get an ambulance to take her in hospital, because there was something seriously wrong going on with her. The television was on, she was looking at it, and I just saw the first plane hit. I'm like, what's that? And my mother said, it's nothing. And I said, no, that is something. And yeah,
Whoa.
So she decided to leave, just, you know, I'm out of here. And I think there are people who are leaving out because it's time to go. The other more practical factors, I think, is lifestyle. There's a lot of people with, you know, very bad lifestyles. And not thinking about what they're eating, what they're putting in their minds and energy bodies, you know, that's going, you know, let's go to McDonald's. Oh, I've got to show my passport to get in or whatever, get into McDonald's. Isn't that a joke? Right?
I got to show that I've had this.
To get in there. Anyway.
Yes.
Lifestyle. And the other aspect of it, I do think, is the increased radiation on the planet, because bad lifestyle, bad mental environment and emotional environment, energetic environment, and the increasing turn up of, you know what, beaming onto the planet. They're all factors. And I think unless we're aware of it, and on my YouTube channel, I have put up stuff around, you know, obviously clearing out the emotional bodies and protection. And there's even one about radiation. I think radiation is going to become an increasing problem for people. How do we shield it out? It's possible to shield it out. But how do we shield it out? And there may be practical things, you know. There's also the spike protein thing. People that, you know about that. The if you're in a room full of people who have had the, you know what, and you haven't, you are getting a transmission of chemical transmission and energetic transmission of what their bodies are doing. And so there's a load of stuff that I've got. You should see all the stuff I've got. One of the things I do take is pine needle essence is good. There's dandelion tea is good. There's black seed oil. There's loads of stuff you can take which neutralizes
that's like detoxifying stuff.
Yeah, get rid of it. And you know, if you think, I don't know, 2/3 of the world may have, or maybe, I don't know, half the world have taken it. I don't know how many have taken. There's a lot of people who've taken this toxic stuff in their body, and the body gets it out, throws it out through the skin and the lungs and the energy fields. And there you are, picking up this radiation. And starseeds are sensitive. And when I first heard about this, I'm like, is this real? I heard that 3 or 4 healers say to me, spike protein one healer said it's affecting people's chakra system. And then I started experiencing it in my throat. Some women, I think, get it in the sacral or even the third eye. And then I had to go through, well, how do we neutralize this? Because it's real. I think it's affecting. And Steiner mentioned, I think you mentioned the anthropological. You know, Rudolf Steiner came out and said, he prophesied that there will be a pharmaceutical thingamajig one day that will disconnect us from the soul. He said that in a statement. So we should take heed of the master, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. What I consider, and I heard a fun Abraham Hicks thing today that was talking about death, and
Yeah.
and there was it was an old one, and someone was talking about how I think there was some sort of catastrophic thing that had happened in Asia, and I don't remember what it was, but along with the lines of what you were saying about Seth, I do believe that our souls are on board for whatever this is, that on a soul level, we're pure, and that on the earth plane, we're here to have the experience that we're co-creating, and also what we're creating as individuals. And I think what's interesting about what all of this stuff is, I think we can totally navigate all of it. However, going into I think there are specific choice points in any experience where is it on the disempowering end of the spectrum, or is it on the empowering? And how do I become empowered with what I feel is going on? And I think too, if we're not afraid to die, and I think my soul I have an awareness of a lot of the experiences that my soul has had. And one of them was being part of the dark elite.
Yeah, me
So
too. Were you there with me?
Maybe it was. I was in Amsterdam.
Oh, right.
And I was a human trafficker.
Oh. Okay. No, I don't think I was there with you then. No, I think I was off planet.
Well, maybe, but so what I think for me, it's important for me to remember, because my first recollection of it, and I write about it in an anthology that I'm in. What is it? The truth of transformation. I forget the name of it. Of course, I should have it right here. Anyway, the truth and power of transformation. Oh yeah. Oh, the other one's living. Oh, here it is. The art and truth of transformation for women. Anyway, I write about it, but
Okay.
The recollection came in while I was meditating, just as I was about to be shot in the back of the head. And I was down in the sort of bowels of my ship. It was like a big ship. And I think it was around the turn of the century of the early 1900s, but maybe even a little later. Anyway, I knew at that moment that I deserved this assassination. And I've since, connected with what it is that I was doing as a dark elite member. And part of the reason I was a total sociopath. I was very handsome, but I was a total sociopath. And the reason I was is because my father was a very dark reptilian predator, sexual predator.
Right.
And I had just been sort of hulled out, as it was, like I was just an empty shell of a person, but needed to have that experience as a soul. So I guess the reason I like sharing the story of the dark is to decompartmentalize our full spectrum experience of light and dark. Like it's not binary. We have, like, when we're going through dark nights of the soul, I mean, I have a child who is identifying as male, born female, and grief as a mama comes up for me, like who that person was and who I raised to be a certain age, and now who is feeling completely like they're in the wrong body and suffering really because of it. So much, like, and I don't want to, I mean, I could say, oh, this is a part of an agenda, and there are plenty of people who believe that. And the human in me, the human and soul part of me is like, and I wanted to have this human experience. So how can I show up in a way that's just going to totally rock it? Like, how can I totally be there for him? How can I go through this really ucky feeling of sorrow and like, whoa, how can I get help? How can I reach out to my practitioner friends that I know that can help me get through this dark night of the soul, or whatever phase of uckiness that I'm gonna ultimately go through in my human experience,
Yeah, it's tough. Yeah, I think with the soul's journey is through the light and the dark, really. Well, I think the soul descends from the light into the dark and then comes out of it. And I think star seeds, we've been through the dark. I mean, I know I've been through the dark, which is why I know about them, which is why we can recognize them. You know, if you haven't had that much contact with them, and most star seeds surely have by now, then you'll go, you know, they don't exist. You know, what are you talking about? I remember I had a conversation years ago with someone talking about angels. And I said, yeah, there are angels holding all of these beautiful soul qualities and possibilities. And there are other angels which are holding opposite stuff. And the person said, no, 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 that's not true. That can't be possible. And
I don't go there.
Yeah, we don't go there. Well, no, we can understand that there are angels holding the quality of love, but you can't have an angel holding the quality of hatred. She said, no, but I said, well, the blueprint wouldn't exist. We wouldn't be able to feel it. There is the blueprint of hatred that we're moving through and growing through. It's not pleasant, not very nice. You know, there's a blueprint perhaps of narcissism. You know, there are all these blueprints that we don't like. You know, I don't know if you've seen the angel cards. They're from Fintorn and they have all these qualities on them. They're these little cards.
No, they sound beautiful. Oh, I mean, not those specific ones. Yeah.
Well, you get these they're tiny little cards. You've got a little angel and they've got a quality like love and there's little hearts and or joy. And there's another one called obedience and everyone puts that one back. No, I don't want obedience. I want love, you know. But sometimes we have to grow through narcissists. We have to grow through facing hatred. We have to grow through facing anger or conflict. These are patterns on this planet which are being neutralized. And the only way to neutralize them is not to bypass them and go, right, well, no, I don't see them. I don't feel them in me. I don't see them anywhere. I'm just going to mantras and meditate all day long. No, we've got to look inside of ourselves because, yes, I know I've been through the dark because I felt it. I remember being in a kind of conflict years ago with this guy who was being a real pain in the ass. And I was walking down I was working in a church at the moment, this spiritual organization. And I was walking down this church from the church hall after giving this, it was a big, beautiful spiritual talk. And I came down the stairs really angry, feeling I know how to send something to that person. And I stopped myself going, whoa, where's that come from? No, we're not doing that in this lifetime, but somewhere I knew how to do it. Right, we're going to send a thunderbolt to him and knock him out. And I mean, the only way I could know that is if I've been through that kind of stuff, really. And so I've been very interested in magic, and magic has a lot of light and dark to it. You know, shamanism has light and dark. I was in Wicca for 10 years, and there's a kind of light and a dark aspect to that, really. Satanism is really not connected to witchcraft, actually. Satanism is the opposite flip side of Christianity. You know, actually, when I was in Wicca, Satanism has nothing really to do with Wicca or witchcraft. There's nothing to do with it at all. But actually, it's the kind of complete opposite of Christianity, the anti-mass and the antichrist and the anti-whatever. It's all a rebellion against that, you know. And
that makes sense.
People think Satanism's just, there's a mutual friend that's a Christian, and my partner said, oh, listen to one of Steve's meditations, and there was a 5-pointed star in there. And she goes, no, I can't. No,
I know that one.
There's a 5-pointed star. Oh my God. You know, 5-pointed star is the 5 elements: earth, air, fire, water, and spirit, or prana. You know, it's nothing to do with Satanism. You know? But anyway.
I think I think what you're talking about too is a really beautiful reminder of how we as humans love and crave connection through community. And I think only through exploring our full spectrum experience can we navigate the nuance of our light and dark aspects. And when we go for a community that is there in order to create a sense of safety and control, or through control with like rigid, like it's this way, it's only this way, this is the truth, and you have to do it this way, this is the practice, then it becomes an expression. It has both polarities. It has the light, but then it also has the dark, which is not looking at itself, like the shadow is, you know, and when we're ashamed or embarrassed by some aspect of ourselves, we put it in the closet and we don't look at it. That's the darkness, right? Like that's the darkness of ourselves, of our own experience. And it's only as scary as we make it. And I think because thought forms are energy, and like attracts like. Other thought forms that are like those thought forms conglomerate together. And so that's why different areas on the planet, you can feel different energies that are like, whoa, there's a place that we take a walk, and this area in North Carolina, there were a lot of Native people, and the Civil War troops traveled through here. So there are pockets where it's like, whoa, this does not feel good. And so we either can perpetuate it, we can clear it, we can tune into it, but we don't have to fear it. I think fear is a response to not knowing what to do, or not knowing how to be in our power.
Yeah. And the scariest people on the planet are the ones who don't face this shadow. They don't believe they have a shadow. They believe the shadow is outside of them.
Mm-hmm.
Evangelical anything, evangelical Christians, evangelical New Agers, they basically will not look at the shadow and go, no, it's them. They are the bad guys and we are the good guys, And,
right. And let me convince you that you have to be with us as the good guys, or you're a bad guy. And we worry about you a whole lot.
Sociopaths are the ones who can't feel fear, and they're the scariest people around. If you're not afraid of anything, you just do anything, really. I think at one level, I look at the game being played out. I'll be honest, my personality itself does not like what I see going on the planet. I don't particularly warm to Bill Gates. I don't particularly warm to Fauci. I don't warm to these characters. But that's not my job, really. But
right. Well, and I think I don't either. And I think what's interesting about, to me anyway, and I'm curious what you think, is when something seems so transparent to me, like Bill Gates and that whole realm of his focus and how he's using to spend his money, that kind of thing. Fauci's entire approach and what he said, there's this intense distortion of what I think is reality. And maybe I own that my distortions are mine. And so maybe I'm perceiving something and I'm not trying to be right. But to me, it's like, that doesn't seem like a love-based expression.
No. I look at them guys and I think, okay, you're enjoying the dark this lifetime.
Yeah.
You're enjoying the dark. And there are others who are enjoying the dark. It is this 0.001 elite pulling the strings, for sure. And if you do any research, you'll find out, well, every single company in the Western world, major company, is owned by two companies. Was it Vanguard and BlackRock, I think it is. Is it BlackRock, I think. Wow. And so whoever's on the board of those two companies own all the media companies, all the food companies, all the companies making weapons. Or imagine those boards can cascade down to every single major company. And don't tell me that those people don't have a bit of power with governments, because I'm sure they do. Well, every single government at the moment is reading a narrative. Every single scientific establishment is reading a narrative. And those establishments, particularly in America, I would say, have been heavily funded by very, very wealthy groups and individuals for a long, long time. And if they've been funded for a long time, suddenly they say, now you owe us the favor. We're calling back.
Oh, for sure. I think it's an international cartel or network of cartels. And there's just this perceptual, their marketing is better, frankly. It's like if you have a Colombian drug cartel, he doesn't feel like he's got to advertise to you, you're going to just go buy the dope on the streets. But these guys have so much power. Jeff Bezos, if he's going to, also look at Facebook guy. They're creating they're calling it metaverse.
Yeah.
That's a level of power where you're creating the universe that you want people to actually consider real, their real reality. And and we could go into like, oh my gosh, that's just so dark. I think for me, what feels just because of working with people in terms of like finding their own empowerment, it can be so subtle. And I've even talked to a family member who was a cop once, and he's like, what makes you a dirty cop doesn't start out as like, I'm a dirty cop. It's like, oh, you fudge the date one day, or you add a little embellishment here, or you do a little of this. And I think over time, which we're I think we're at that sort of like, what do you call it? Critical mass energy of where the dark is like so bloated with it's like, you know, we're just doing our thing. And I mean, I think Bill Gates thinks he's doing the right thing, you know,
Maybe.
maybe, I mean, and I think that's an interesting like thing to consider too. Like when I recall the past life, when I was doing dark things, very, very bad things, I wasn't in the mindset of, I definitely wasn't in the mindset of integrity, that's for sure. But I wasn't in the mindset of I'm doing something wrong.
Yeah.
I was in the mindset of this is what I do. This is how I do it. I want to make more money and I want more power and control. And if I don't do it, like there was a lack of really imagination. It's like, you know, this is how I have to do it. It's sort of like force begets force, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's a bit akin to maybe the Confederacy having slavery. This is just the natural order of things, and we've got to control these people because they're a bit dangerous. And if we can't disrupt the natural order, but I think the current dark forces are more strategic. They can see 30 or 50 years down the timeline, and what they're doing now, they know will take fruit in 10 years. They've been planning this for a long time. This is not a sudden whim, like,
oh no,
release
I
the
have an
hornet.
idea. Yeah, it's definitely not a whim. Oh no,
it's not a whim. So this thing is playing out, and so people like Gates and Fauci are probably well in on it, I imagine. I'm not 100% sure, but I imagine that they probably are. And they can see the timeline, and they totally believe in it. You know, there are people high up who've publicly stated in books and whatever that the population of the world should be culled. You know, I mean, our own prime ministers made statements like that. So then it's not hidden, you know, and I think if you believe that if we can get rid of half the world population, that'll be a really good thing, you know, let's say half or whatever, then they're doing what they think is right. You know, they think this is for the good of the
like
planet.
It's a noble pursuit.
And we stay in control because we're the clever ones. We're the Illuminati is the illuminated ones. We're the ones with the light. We know. And they do know a lot more than the average Joe on the street. They've kind of got a sense of the history of the planet. I think the thing about Illuminati, this pyramid, you know, on the dollar bill, you've got the pyramid with the all-seeing eye at the top and all of that, separated, you know, isn't there a little separation, I think, at the top. And from what I understand, that anyone in that pyramid of working for the dark think they're the bee's knees, think we're doing a great job, think we're the top of the chain, but actually they're not, you know, but they don't realize it. Right. I think presidents are not the top of the chain in this current climate.
No, I agree.
But the great thing about it is the dark is becoming more visible. It's never been as visible before. Before 9/11, nobody would have talked about the dark or the elite, or it was like, who cares? But after 9/11, people are saying, what is going on in the world? And now with
how
this current
could
crisis,
something this major happen? I think people don't, you know, they're the perception that, you know, we're just going about our business and nose to the grindstone. I think it serves power elite that human beings are distracted. You know, I think that's why there's so much usefulness in electronics and media right now. They're getting so much use out of that because they're able to keep people from tuning in, doing the inner work to find their guidance forward.
Distraction.
Yeah.
And, you know, if you've studied history, it's Roman history, bread and circus. How do you keep the mob controlled? Bread and circus. That's it. And that's what we're seeing now. You know, there are parallels actually between the American Empire, and Britain is part of that empire, I consider, and the old Roman Empire. And I think some Roman statesman said, the more corrupt an empire, the more mental, or I didn't say use mental, the more corrupt are the laws or rules that are being put out. And what we're seeing now is a total corruption of democracy, a total let's stamp over it in the name of fear. Well, because and actually every tyranny in the past dictators come to power because there was a threat, and people had to turn, in Roman, let's turn to Roman history, they turned to a dictator to help them overcome the threat. And then when the threat was passed, they hoped the dictator would step down, and this is what we've got now, that Biden,
and that happened in Germany in World War II.
Germany, actually, the Wall Street crash was actually eventually what caused that, and the reparations from World War I was what caused Hitler to come to power. They thought he was an idiot in Germany before, in the 1920s, but it wasn't until the 1930s, after the Wall Street crash, that they thought he was like, oh my God, he became a force, and then it was too late, really. So I've loved history because history kind of repeats itself. And I think Biden, however nice people consider him after Trump, people may have been riled by the Trump rhetoric. I mean, I don't think Trump was part of the dark, but Biden, I think, is embedded in this whole thing, really. He's totally taking orders. And when I see little videos of him, I think, who is he? And
what is he still, that?
Is he still got is his brain still working, or what's going on?
It is bizarre. It's like an automaton or something.
I feel sorry for you guys over the pond. You're having it rough over there. The Trump years and now the Biden years have been rough, really.
Well, I think it's, I mean, I don't mean to be flippant in terms of like, yeah, there's a lot going on. I feel like this is the reason my soul came here, this time frame. And I think it's to me, it's a little bit bizarre and interesting, but that much more galvanizing for my work. When people are like, the enemy is Trump, it's just like, he's a person. And like, I felt like he was the perfect distraction for getting all of these sort of programs in line. Like we have to make him the bugaboo, and then all of these other control mechanisms can start to be implemented, and people are looking over here and going, and it's like, yeah, but here is all of the implementation of things that are taking away your ability to be a sovereign person, or presumably. And people are like, how could you even say that? He's so dangerous. He's another potential, not, Hitler or whatever. And it's like, it's so interesting that people are feeling that. And to me, it's like, you're talking about really a bandwidth of frequency. If we're having the conversation about politics right now, that's a particular bandwidth. What I'm interested in is, how do we move out of these consecutive patterns of historical, like, it's just like the human consciousness, right? Like when people have these patterns of thought that they tell themselves these stories, and then you disrupt that pattern and you go, oh, look over here, there's actually something way better up here in these higher frequencies, but you just didn't see them because you're really only looking over here. Like, check this out. Oh, my life can change,
Yeah. Well, the important thing is for anyone is to face their, I think what I've sensed in America is a lot of anger, which is also, it's a different quality of anger than in England. In England, there's an anger, in most countries, there's a kind of anger against what's going on, but in America, there's a quality of helplessness as well. We're angry, but we don't know what to do about it. Yeah. So we're just going to be angry and really fed up and bitter and whatever. I think it's a little bit stronger in America.
Yeah. Oh, I would agree. And people are, I think social media really is I think people are super, super lonely.
Community is really important. Yeah. Super important these days. But we have to face our anger. We have to face our fear. And once we face our anger and fear, we can look at the dark and go, you know that film Labyrinth, which I love.
I love it.
You have no more power.
So hot in that
movie.
Me.
Yeah, do you remember the whole thing blew up?
Yeah.
And that's the thing, we had no more power. Once we can look at the dark and look at it without real anger or fear, it's anger or fear or rage or fear, and look at it and go, I know what you're up to, and I'm going to go beyond you. You actually have no power over me. And all of this nonsense you're putting, and it looks like they've got total control of the planet, but actually, I think this is probably one of their final cards that they could play. Because beyond this, Big Pharma, I think it's going to be in serious trouble because it's got no integrity whatsoever. So that as an energy field, I think is going to start collapsing. There'll be other things that start collapsing as well.
Oh, and I think that simultaneously, there are beautiful light structures that are forming, that are bringing, holistic wellness into a whole new level of technology, where beautiful, beautiful technologies are starting to emerge and come online, activating our immune system. I mean, this is a perfect juxtaposition. It's like, have the shot, have the poke, whatever. And then the sicker ones are the ones who have had it. And and people, like, I think at a certain point, getting a little bit of distance, people will not miss that. But right now, I think what's happening, and this is my perception of what's happening, is there's a dissociation, and that's all of the negative feelings. We're out of body. We're not even in our body. And so we're just in this space of like total ungrounding, total, like, the collective anyway, that's not feeling like they have any power in the situation. They're in the perfect trauma state. They're ripe for more going down the dark path. If they're the perfect pawns, they've got them right where they want it, but that's why I think our work is so beautiful and important. It's like, if you're ready to end that, if you're ready to be done with that story, come and hang out here. And there's going to be a lot more love, and it's going to be gritty, and may tell you things. You may find things out about yourself that you have to look at and own, step into.
Well, the timelines are splitting, the old time. Some people will go down that timeline. There's a load of I think now Starseeds are like, are you going to wake up now? How much more do you need to wake up? This is the final call, really, if you're on the planet. I mean, unless you're like a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old, I mean, but as a kind of compos mentis person, you can look at it and wake up. And like, I've got a Starseed community on my website, a social media platform, because I got fed up with evil Facebook. I'm still on there, but I think it's a necessary evil. So I created my own one. I've got 10,000 people hanging out there. And as you said, loneliness, need for community is so important. And there's loads of these little communities forming, even on Telegram. I'm part of all these little sub-communities. And some of them are like the angry, we don't know like what's going on, but I just kind of keep my finger on the pulse. I don't get too much into it. There's a lot of light, communities springing up. And that's the future. I think these communities of light springing up, where really we've had enough. I've stopped reading any newspaper. I just think it's all propaganda. I used to keep my finger on the pulse reading stuff, but I won't even read it these days.
It's not what's happening.
Entirely on the light.
I agree 100%. It's not. I think whether the perception was there was actual like a thread of what's happening being reported, and now it's. And I heard it talked about in a way that I resonate with, is financially, it doesn't make sense for businesses to talk about the light, because all of the big conglomerate sort of sources of their financial well-being are based in the mentality that needs to promote fear, the clickbait energy, but I think there's going to be this natural attrition where people are just going to get bored with it, it's going to fall away.
I think people are going to open their eyes, because in England you've had, was it 3 shots of this thing, and now I think they're trying to say you need another one. And I have heard people say, there was some friends of mine, I went out, I used to live in a spiritual community, and none of them have really got their eyes open. They're particularly sleepwalkers, I would say. And one of them, I met up with a group of them, and this couple, the guy got COVID, went into hospital. And the partner said to me, thank God he had the jab, because it could have been a lot worse. And I hear that. And I was like, oh yeah.
Or people are like, I'm triple or double or triple vaccinated. And I'm like, what is that? Why?
Every year it's going to be another one. It's going to come around to another one.
Do you want
need
that?
Another one.
I mean, I don't know if I'll talk about my own personal experience getting the jab. I had the first one, I instantly felt it in my body. And I was like passed out, like cold for a few hours. And then I had neuropathy, like pain in my nerves in my feet. And then after I had the second one, I got an outbreak of shingles.
Right. Yeah, lovely, isn't it? It's lovely. This is what you want.
And
I
I
think
was
people
like,
should definitely read what's in these things, though. If you read what's in them, I saw a great quote that somebody actually got all the ingredients, found out all the ingredients of one of them, and called a chemist friend and said, "Look, if I wanted this chemical, what would you say?" And the person would say, "Well, that is highly toxic." And he went through a list of 7 of them, and basically said, "Why are you asking me all these questions?" And the guy said, "Well, this is all the ingredients of the you know what." And he was like, "Really?" And there's some toxic stuff in there. I mean, one of the things you find in there is graphene oxide, which is what you put in computers. It's nanotechnology for supercomputers, and it makes a person's energy field superconductive to electrical charges. And that's not
fabulous.
really, yeah, it's great if you're going to make humans Bluetooth, you know, and I think that maybe, you know, in the future you have chips and you'll be beeping and you know, I mean, maybe that's part of it, that people's bodies will become superconductors and have AI in their fields. I think there is a push. Elon Musk mentioned it about human beings have to become part AI. That's the future. And I think that is a strategy.
Right.
Actually,
The
it's part of all of
Neuralink.
it with
Yeah.
the 5G stuff and with this stuff. The whole strategy is we're heading for a part AI world. Humans are included.
Yes.
That is the 30-year plan, 30, 40, 50-year plan.
Yeah. I don't know that you can extract it. There would have to be there would have to be a strategy, but for people to not do it and everybody's like just going along with what's happening. And so, I mean, I like to contemplate these kinds of things because what does that mean on a soul level and on a human level? And for me, it's how do I live the life that I came here to live? Really, that's really what for me, it comes down to. And so
I'm living a fabulous life.
Yay. Let's hear
Living
about your
by the
fabulous
sea,
life.
living by the sea, beautiful house,
What's the temperature there?
Oh, well, it's wintry, but I mean, it's not, I mean, a light jacket, you can go out walking by the sea, blue sky, sun. It's not super cold, it's fresh. And I used to come on holiday here when I was a kid, and now I'm living. I thought I'd like to live. My working life has to be a holiday, and so that's what I've done. I've turned my working life into a holiday. My commute is from the bedroom 1 floor up to 1 floor down in this office with this banner, and you know it's great. We're very central to everything. It's a very alternative part of the world. We're living in Brighton, which is on the coast below London. If you drew a line from London to the coast, it's Brighton's there. We've got a big gay community, biggest gay community in England, which means it's very alternative. Lots of healing centres, lots of people into. We have a growing tribe of people we invite for various tea parties, and there's like we're trying to fit them all in our living room. So we're building a little tribe, and we're building a little
fabulous
local community. Yeah, and online community. I go massage it. I'm gonna reveal something. I had a eyebrow waxing thing.
Oh, beautiful.
My partner was complaining about my eyebrows, and then so I had this thing done. Now I look like Charlie Chaplin.
Nice.
Very
cleaned
how painful
up.
waxing is. It's
whoa.
Whoa.
But the adrenaline is nice.
Yeah. I'll do it again. I think, my partner, she complains about my nails and my feet. So I'm just going to go and have it all done.
He wants you to groom.
Groom, yeah. I've got a groom. You wouldn't believe, yeah. I've had to tidy myself up a lot for my bachelor days, In the old days, I could wear a pair of socks until they started going hard. These days, no. One day in the wash bucket, I'm like, what? They're just still fresh. No.
We can wash that.
She says to me, boys are so gross. So, all right.
I'm actually married to someone who's not very gross, but my youngest is like so gross. So totally like his hair, he's just like a bedhead. And I'm like, can I just like put a brush through it? And he's just like, I don't know why you would want to. But the girls are going crazy for him.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
And he's
there's still things to laugh and enjoy, even in the world's going crazy.
Well, socialization is good. These kids were cooped up for a really long time. But what's funny is like the kids, and I'm paying attention to Gen Z, they're not super sexual. They're very buttoned up. And so I think part of, COVID does that too. And also when you're not used to engaging with people in physical context, there's this, there's this energetic misunderstanding. And these kids are not fully embodied. I mean, they're talk about wired for prime time. These kids are coming in very highly evolved, and they're totally in their heads most of the time. So I feel like there's inevitably going to be like, a sexual revolution that needs to happen, because they don't even, it's like, I see them, and my youngest is like, yeah, there are these girls, and they, just basically girls awakening to who he is, and him going, yeah, I just don't think that I'm ready for that. I'm not even, I mean, he's 12. I think it's probably best if I just like, don't even go there.
Yeah. I think that's very sensible. Kids are, in the past, waking up too early sexually,
Yeah. I was a part of that generation.
Yeah, it's too early. I remember being in a room for the boys, and they're all cross-questioning me about, have you slept with someone yet? And I'm like, oh, no.
Yeah.
And they're like, really? And I'm
you need to get over that. Like, I remember being pushed. You're still a virgin I remember being asked that at 14. Like, why don't you just get it over with? First of all, why would I want to just get it over with?
Yeah.
Don't I want to like feel ready?
Yeah. So I think it's really, really enlightening that this new generation had that feeling. It's really encouraging, actually, because, it's not like the world needs more. I think, even if the world stayed at the same population, we're doing pretty well. We don't need to be more populated,
I definitely
and if we do need to be underpopulated, I think it's better to do it that way.
Naturally.
Educate people and do it naturally, rather than, whatever's going on now.
Yeah, I think that's probably inevitable. There was a show, Christiana Monpour, who's historically been with CNN. She did a really cool show about sexuality, and I don't remember what it's called. It's like Sex and Love or something. And she was talking about Japan and how 40% of Japanese males are virgins.
Yeah, I know. They're just not. Isn't it interesting?
If 40% of your population are virgins, that's going to have a huge effect on your population, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I think
unless they eventually lose their virginity. But I'd imagine that if you're an adult and you've never had sex and you like to maybe hang out with a not real sexual partner, probably won't be increasing the population.
I think they're a bit workaholic as well. I mean, America's a workaholic culture. That doesn't really help with the sex life, really, if you're a workaholic culture. Too much puritanical. I don't know what is in Japan. I think they've definitely got a workaholic culture.
They're America's also not physical. They're not. It's not a physical physical. Yeah. They're not physically demonstrative. There's not a lot of hugging. It's not like Italy, where
they're very sexual. Yeah,
very sensual. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to judge. I mean, I'm just observing it. But in terms of what I think is more fun, I didn't come to the planet to be in a physical body to not enjoy that whole realm. Super fun. Be safe, everyone, but enjoy it.
It's kind of a weird thing. Eating, having sex, and farting. They're all weird parts of having a body.
Athleticism, being, yoga,
swimming,
stinkiness.
Yeah. Well, here in the sea is really cold here in winter. People go swimming at Christmas Day and all year round. I mean, I think they're completely mad, but I've got a good friend who does it, and she says it's so invigorating. I'm like, she did a 6-month cold shower training before she did it. I don't want to do that. Thing. Yeah, I don't want to do that training.
I know. I don't. Can I do the one in the Bahamas or Hawaii? I mean, I grew up in Hawaii, so I mean, we just got a cold spell, and it hasn't been. I mean, temperature. It's like heavy parkas, and it might snow on what's the temperature in Celsius when it starts to snow? The freezing point in England.
0.
Oh, it's 0. So here it's 32.
Oh, okay.
It's 32 degrees.
Well
Fahrenheit. And so if it's 32 or below, it's it'll freeze. And so if it's snowing, and if it's raining, it'll snow. And so it's getting, into the like 20s and the teens. And that's really cold for us. And that's probably more in the like zeros and below zeros for you guys.
Yeah.
But my body just kind of goes, bleh, and I need to like crawl into bed or like sit like right next to the fireplace, and I need to be warm.
Well, I nearly drowned twice in this lifetime, but they're both in warm seas. So I think if you're going to drown, at least drown in a warm sea. That was my feeling.
What happened?
Oh, well, both
Clearly
times
you've moved through it because you're very light about it. I love it.
Well, the first time I was in Australia and I sent a prayer to my higher self going, I need help. The sea's
Where
pulling
were
me
you?
out.
Oh,
Oh, I was on the Gold Coast of Australia, and I've never encountered the sea current that strong. We don't have currents like that in England. And I was being pulled out. And then I said, I need help. And then a freak wave must have thrown me on the beach because I was thrown.
Wow.
And then the second time in Greece, I nearly did drown. And that was because I was in a fire and I breathed something. And I think breathing was a bit funny. And I got rescued.
You were in a fire on a boat or something?
No, I was in a fire in the spiritual community I was in. There was a fire. I put it out. But in putting it out, I breathed. I got oxygen afterwards by the fire brigade and everything. I got checked out by my doctor, and she said, "You're fine." But when I was swimming in that sea, I was not fine, and I got rescued. And I got dropped on the beach by these two guys who just pulled me out.
I mean, I got into some hairy situations in Hawaii. I mean, I was raised with a very strong respect for the ocean. There were plenty of times where it was like, it could go either way here, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm a really strong swimmer. Well, not as strong as I used to be as a kid. But that's part of, I mean, to me, that's like part of the juice of like the magic that happens in those crazy moments too. I've been in so many situations where it's like, if this goes bad, I'm done, you know?
Yeah. Well, our time is our time. We choose our time, as I mentioned earlier. And, some people want to go out quickly and some people want to go out the slower route. Let's
what do you want?
Well, I think I wouldn't have minded, but I got 4 grandchildren and I kind of, there's these starseeds. I want to kind of hang around for a while with them. I want to see them, blossom in the world. So I'm not ready to leave. I'm going to stay. And also I'm serving all these, there's a lot of people interested in what I've got to say still. So that's good.
Absolutely. It's just growing. Just growing. And what I'm wondering is, so what I thought you were talking about is when the time comes, do you want to go like that? Or do you want to go like peter out?
Oh no, when the time comes, make it quick. But I'd like it to be, further down the line.
What age do you think? You have an age time frame?
Well, I suppose 88 would be a magical number.
That's a good one. Yeah.
88 maybe, but I could go on to 99, I suppose, if I'm in reasonable health.
Like Betty White.
Yeah, 99, but I've got to be pretty good, I can still do yoga, martial arts. I'm 65 this year. And
cool.
that song, the Beatles, Will You Still Need Me? Will you still
when I'm so I've hit 64.
64. So I'm there now. I'm getting a pension next year from the government. Imagine.
Congratulations. See, just abundance in your, after your, just get it. It's a party. I don't want to.
It won't last long with grandchildren. They're always like, Granddad, I need a new iPad. I need a new whatever. They're always needing something. It's grandkids.
Oh, this is good to prepare for.
Oh, they're already on it.
I mean, my kids are like that. So I don't have grandkids. It'll be interesting to see if we even have any grandkids. The oldest is going to be that. I don't know if he'll want to have kids. I hope so. I want to be a grandma.
It's so nice being a grandparent. It's so lovely. You love them and then you give them back at the right time. And go off and enjoy life again.
Yeah.
And I had some lovely grandparents. So I think grandparent is a sacred role.
Absolutely.
Really. Yeah.
Absolutely. So tell us about, this is a book, this banner right here, this poster behind you is your book, The Soul Matrix. Oh, no, the Spiritual Entrepreneur.
The Spiritual Entrepreneur.
Yes. Sorry. The Spiritual Entrepreneur. It's a fatty. What? Tell us about
It's
it.
fat, and it's got some nice. I put it in color. Like I've got some little color things in there.
Ooh.
So yeah. Oh, I had to put Metatrons Cube in there.
Oh, I love that.
Well, I wrote it. I usually write books for myself. So I go, what do I know about this subject that I need to really get down? So because I was a director of a spiritual organization for 13 years, and then I've run my own business for 5.5, 6 years. So I'm like, well, how does it all start? What do you need to get it going? What's the practical bits? What's the kind of energetic bits? So it's a book of practical and energetic, because there's lots of kind of yang books out there, which are like, kill the competition, go for it, have an exit strategy, build your sales, all of that, which are boring mostly. And then there's the yin books, which are like, call the angels, trust, and everything will be all right. And I'm like, no, I don't think those two approaches should come together. It's a yin yang approach. So I've kind of combined the practical with the spiritual.
I love it.
It's not just about meditating. It's about having a mindset, having a certain perspective on what's possible, and calling and working energetically. So it's kind of both. Are you
on Amazon?
Yeah, this is a printed book on Amazon.
Okay, so I want to let's follow each other. Let's follow each other on Amazon, because I want to promote you. I absolutely will, and I'll get that book and I want to read it, because I think that's super important. And I think this reflects where the spiritual community really is going in the realm of thriving. The spiritual community that is evolving into not what we've already done, which I agree, totally boring. Where we're headed, it's new ways of, because I believe we're the entrepreneurs of the future. I think there's, as we were talking about structures falling away, I think that there is a light structural frame for the evolved path. And I think there's so much deliciousness and creativity, visionary work happening. It's super exciting. And so, yeah, getting this book out there is important. And you do workshops too, right?
Well, I've got some in England at the moment. I do lots of online webinars, but the workshops are in England, Brighton, and in Glastonbury. I do Glastonbury twice a year because it's a sacred site. Okay,
so then the online, how many, do you have a cap on who you let come in?
No, it's kind of, well, I can take up to 500, which is pretty cool,
Yeah.
So I think the most I ever took was 260, which was like, whoa, there's a lot of people coming in. So, I know we've talked a lot about the situation at the moment. It has driven a lot of people to look for more solutions, look for more communities. And yeah, I do webinars every week, every other week, so there's always some class going on.
What's the best way? Subjects. What's the best way for people to find out what you're doing?
thesoulmatrix.com, and on there's a page called events, and it's all listed there.
Okay, and you're also on IG a lot, right?
Yeah, I'm Steve Nobel 101.
Okay.
And YouTube, Steve Nobel. I'm on 140,000 now. It's pretty good.
I know, that's awesome.
It's mental, isn't it?
Yeah. It's so cool. Well, I mean, well deserved for sure. I mean, I listen to your meditations all the time.
Oh, thank you. I listen to them myself sometimes.
Yeah. What's your process with that? I mean, and we're going over the hour, so if you have to go, just let me know.
In the early days, the process with these meditations transmissions was I was just a receiver. And now I'm not just a receiver, but I'm a kind of participant. I kind of say, hey guys, what about X, Y, Z? And if I get a yay, let's do it, and a download, right? If I get basically there'll be a kind of a donk, like it's fallen on deaf ears. Okay, there's no interest in that. Fine, let's forget that then. So it's more of a kind of debate. And sometimes now people will email me going, oh, I really need blah, blah, blah. And I go, oh, okay, what do you think? And I sometimes get an immediate, yes, let's do it. And so it's a conversation now. And it's much quicker than in the early days. It took days, even weeks. Now it can be pretty quick. I can get a download within a few minutes. Unpacking it, it's unpacking the download can take an hour or two just to go, have I got everything? Is anything missing? You know, that kind of
Are
thing.
you doing that internally? You writing it down?
I as soon as I run through internally a few times, and then when I've got it, I kind of write it down as we do that, we do that, we do that, and we end with that. And then I run it through, have I caught everything? And I go, no, there's something missing. What's missing? And then I'll get that. And then is it, oh, it's complete now. It's a feeling of complete. And then I just put it out. So I'm my own laboratory, basically. If it feels complete in my system, then I think, well, it's probably going to work for other people. And it's the, you know, I put it out after checking it on myself. And that's why a lot of people say, oh, they're so powerful. I feel so touched, you know, and I'm not just reading a script and going, let's call the, you know, the rainbow dragon from the hill and let's jump on its back. I'm not reading a script. I am doing a transmission.
You're channeling. Yeah.
Yeah, run through it. So.
Well, and you have a format that you've sort of developed over time, because I was recently listening to an old one of yours and it was like, oh, this isn't the format that you use now. And so it's been cool. It's cool to sort of see your trajectory and see how much you've evolved, and like how, you know, you have this sort of way that you do it that is very precise and very Steve, you know?
Yeah, I'm midheaven Virgo, my astrology, so which means I've got to have a structure. So the six angels hold the six directions. You know, Raphael in the east, Michael in the south, Gabriel in the west, Uriel in the north, Metatron, great central sun, and Sandalphon, crystalline grid of the earth. So they're the six directions, and your team and spirit of ice, light, and resonance, which is our, you know, all the rest of the buddies and guides and angels that work with us. And that's the structure. And within that, lots of stuff happens. You know, we have a party, different types of party. Sometimes it's a peach orange party. Sometimes it's more of a kind of fizzy, joyful party. It's all different energies, you know.
Golden light. Do you have a favorite that you've done?
I do like the latest Angelic Light series. I've done a few for the chakras, which is the golden citrine, which is really nice. I like that one.
I like that one too.
There's what's the other one? The golden turquoise, and there's the one that works on the solar plexus, sorry, the sacral and throat at the same time. That's a recent one. So there's a whole series of angelic light. There's going to be another one for the heart and crown and base that's coming out at some point. I haven't got it yet, but it will come out.
How
to complete
fun.
That lot.
Would you ever collaborate with other people about those kinds of things?
Sometimes. I did do one collaboration, and with a woman I worked with before, and she does a lot of the music, and people freaked out, going, "Oh my God, there's another voice!" Oh, it freaked me out. I had to press stop on the recording, and I'm like, well, they didn't read the copy that's saying it's me, and you know.
Well, and I'm just wondering too, I don't know why that just came through. I'm just curious, like because I don't know. I just like the idea of collaboration so much. And I wonder if the energy of other influences, maybe not necessarily the voice in the act, because your voice is so yummy. I can see how that would throw people off because they're used to Steve. But I mean, just sort of like, I don't know, just the idea of collaborating and like, ooh, that would be cool, stick in there, you know, like, oh, what about this?
Yeah. Well, I've collaborated with a musician. A lot of the music's collaboration.
The music is beautiful. Yeah.
And I'm going to collaborate with my partner. We're going to do a track together, and when she's ready, we're going to do that, and we'll see how that goes. And it'll be nice male, female, and we'll warn everyone in big capital letters. Beware, there is going to be a female voice on this at some point, so please don't freak out. Honestly, people are freaking out. I freaked out. Because
oh well, you get to riff on your own creativity. I think go for it. Honestly, to date, I mean, I love all of your meditations, but the one that sort of moved me the most deeply, and I think it's also because you're a man and you did this, but it was the Medusa Medusa one. That one blew my mind.
Oh, she's been coming a long, long time, but I was a bit scared about doing anything with her until I got the time. I mean, I even made a pottery sculpture.
It was a real journey. That was a real powerful soul journey there for women.
Shadow. Yeah,
it would be, it would be kind of cool to have that for the male counterpart. Like the sort of the male storyline for, you know, to the Medusa story, because there's so much like, you know, women carry so much not enoughness, but men do too in there. And men, I mean, God, there's so much like guy stuff coming up right now in the collective around, you know, what is it to be male? You know, what is masculinity? What is it to feel enough as a man? And, you know, all of the feminine influence that's caused. I mean, there are people who are genuinely confused. Like my youngest was like, I feel like there are influences that are trying to convince me to be gender confused.
Oh, for sure.
And
I mean, I think there is an agenda, but there's also starseeds are coming in with a much more fluid, because I put a meditation called gender starseed or gender fluid.
Oh, I love that one. That's a great one.
Oh, that one had so much backlash.
Did it?
It's part of the cabal. You're part of the agenda pushing out. Yeah, I mean, they do have an agenda of creating confusion, but naturally starseeds are coming in with a greater fluidity anyway. So, I mean, they're jumping
a more androgynous male-female harmony.
Totally. It's on it.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are confused that there is a natural push towards greater fluidity in gender. And there is, of course, the cabal of doing their own stuff you can see this, what they're trying to do in Hollywood and elsewhere, you know. I mean, you could see.
You could do 5 million. You could do 5 million amazing, like soul expanding things, and do one thing that a person doesn't resonate with, and you're a part of the cabal.
Yeah, suddenly I'm part of the cabal. Yeah. So I've got this friend who did a picture with holding a sunflower over one eye. And I said, oh my God, people say that's the cabal. You could, you know, we were joking to each other, that your sunflower is part of the cabal. And, you know, some people take it to extreme lengths. I've got messages that archangels are part of the cabal. Or chakras are a cabal implant. You know, people send me these messages and I'm like, well, all right, if you want to think that. Fine.
Right. But I think that's also an indication that they're not tuning into their own inner guidance, because if people are not, and I've gone through this and probably will continue to on some level, if people are hearing darkness coming from me, I'm sorry, but that's your shit, because I'm totally like, I'll own it. I am totally in cahoots with the light, because that's all I'm here to do. That's just, I came by it honestly. I've spent plenty of time in the dark, and I would not be doing the work that I do if I was of the dark. I just wouldn't. Yeah,
me too. I'm not interested in the dark, and they're not interested in me, really. I know they're not interested. They just spit me out. You know,
yeah,
completely.
Me too.
I'm the wrong resonance to them.
Yeah, they're like totally. They think, totally uninterested.
Yeah, I'm not part of the establishment. They don't want me to be part. I mean, the establishment's wobbling, isn't it? The British one is wobbling with the latest revelations. So they don't want people like
I know
Andrew. You know, they don't want. And then there was Meghan.
That was a quick response too.
Yeah,
I mean, a long time coming, but all of a sudden the Supreme Court says, oh, okay, this is actually, they didn't even try him yet, but they said, this is actually relevant. This is going to go forward.
He's been thrown to the wolves. He's been thrown to the wolves because the Illuminati do not mind who they sacrifice. For the greater good, we sacrifice individuals. There's no problem. They'll throw people to the wolves. Yeah. So they'll throw them to the wolves, and they won't think twice about it.
No.
You know?
Yeah.
There we are.
That's not integrity. There's integrity for you. Yeah.
Well, you know, it's part of joining that club. You know that if you could be sacrificed. Yeah. And you've just got to accept it. Really?
I think that's one of the things that to me feels so honoring of being in the light. You know, you're in the light when ... you're being held lovingly, when your root chakra isn't like convulsing and twitching because you're not safe, and you're, you know, on the precipice all the time of being abandoned or thrown out to the wolves. Like, these are signs, people. If you don't feel safe and secure in your community, there might be a deeper look.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And have faith that there are communities that can hold space for you and that love you, and don't think that you're a crackpot, and fill your heart with joy.
Brilliant. Well, I suppose I better I love you and leave you. We've been on it for an hour and a half. I've got another call in half an hour. Better go and have a cup of tea.
Have some harmonizing. Thank you so much for giving so much of your wonderful time. And I'm going to put your stuff in the description below, and people, check Steve out. Like, he is the real deal. And leave questions for us. And be connected, reach out, be in this community, however it shows up for you, and feel free to subscribe. I'd love to have you. All right. Do you have any last words, Steve?
Send me a link to you on Amazon so I can find you.
Oh yeah. Yeah. We're going to be connected. Yeah. Find us both on Amazon. And just say hi, follow us.
What's your book?
Well, I have these. I'm not going to say yet what my book is. I told you in secret that one.
Oh,
but this, I'm in this book. Oh, is it reversed?
Women Living on Purpose. All right.
Women Living on Purpose, and the Art and Truth of Transformation for Women, but men can read it too. They'll find plenty of things. It's just all female anthologies. And I share a bit about my journey. And especially in the first one, I am definitely talking about my journey with dark lifetimes and how that's led to who I am today.
Lots of love, Laura, to you.
All right.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Have a beautiful time there. Say hi to the ocean, and I'll wave across the pond.
Thank you, Laura. Take care.
Okay. Until next time.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.